Falafels, you don't need food processors to make this. It's so easy to do right at home, and I'm going to show you how. How's it going? Welcome back to Sam Kitchen. My name is Sam Lin. I am a home cook who's really passionate about sustainability and, more importantly, save money by making things at home. And hopefully I can be helping you guys do the same in your own kitchen as well. This week, the weather has been really warming up over here in Brisbane, and my headspace just goes to what is light and what is easily portable, so when I go into the office or even just at home, I can have something that's ready to go. And I'm going to show you how to make falafel right at home. So many recipes that I've been going through on the internet when it comes to making falafel, they all ask for equipment such as food processors, and not everyone's got a food processor at home, right? So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do everything by hand and how to make falafel really cheap. What's really cool about falafels is they are so versatile. They are these little pockets of flavor bomb that you can put into sandwiches, you can put into your veggie wraps, and that is a meal on its own. Keeping the intro short and sweet, before we get into the recipe, if you can smash the like button down below, that would really help out my YouTube channel and my videos as well. Thank you so much for doing that, and let's get cooking. To make falafel, we have to start with some chickpeas. Next, we'll need some water to soak and cook our chickpeas. To go in our falafel, we'll need some onion, garlic. On top of that, we'll want some parsley, which I'll get from my garden, some cumin for that iconic fragrance, some salt to season. To bind everything together, a little bit of flour is a secret binding agent. That's all we need, quite straightforward. The ingredient list is on the screen, so feel free to take a screenshot or pause the video here while you get your prep going. We'll put them aside and get started. So with our chickpeas, I highly recommend having some dried chickpeas as a stock pantry item. They last forever and are so much cheaper than the tin ones. All you need to do is soak them the night before and they're all good to go the next day. Really good practice to be organized with your time if you're a self-proclaimed responsible adult. But having said that, tin chickpeas will work just fine for this recipe. I swear I won't judge. You can skip the soaking part and jump straight to cooking if you're using tin chickpeas. For today's recipe, I'm weighing out 150 grams of dried chickpeas for about 12 falafels. To soak our chickpeas, we want about 2 times of the weight of chickpeas, which is 300 grams of water. Now, you can let it soak overnight until the chickpeas double in size. Or, I'm going to show you a time-saving method with pressure cooker to skip the soaking part. This is a pressure cooker I got from IKEA about 3 years ago. And it's a great tool to reduce energy consumption when cooking food that requires long cooking time. All we need to do is pour our dried chickpeas in with double that of water. Put our lid on and make sure it's nice and secure. There's a misconception of how pressure cookers are dangerous. As long as the safety pressure valves are not blocked, there honestly is nothing to worry about. Onto the stove and start with high heat to get the water boiling to build up the pressure. Once the red valve is pushed up, that means the pressure is starting to build up in the pot. When the pressure controlling valve is full steam ahead, pun intended, it's time to move it on to a smaller heat source. As long as there is pressure escaping from the valve, that means there is sufficient pressure in the pot to cook whatever cooking. Move it onto a smaller stove to save some gas moolah. I cooked the chickpeas for about 20 minutes from dry to cooked and turn the heat off for the pressure to slowly reduce to equilibrium. Once the red valve has dropped, that means the pressure in the pot is no longer higher than that of the outside. That means it's safe to open. Pour the cooked chickpeas out through a sieve and drain out the chickpea water. The water is called aquafaba. It's super high in protein and can be used as vegan egg white to make some delicious meringue. Or if you don't want to cook with it, it's a great natural fertilizer for your plants, so definitely don't just pour it down the drain. At this point, the chickpeas are still very hot, so I let it cool down for 10 minutes because I still like to have functional fingers after this video. Once the chickpeas are cool to touch, Pour a portion of it onto the chopping board and we're going to break it down. Use the side of your knife to crush the chickpeas and turn it into a bit of a mush. We're not aiming for a puree, but more like a mud or sandy kind of texture. Use a knife to give it a good chopping to break it down further. I like to keep some chunky bits in the mixture to keep the falafel textural. Get the broken down chickpeas into the bowl and repeat the process for the rest. You can use a food processor for this entire process if you wish. Just make sure you don't puree the crap out of it. I also gave mortar and pestle a try. The result is not terrible, but definitely came out more like a pasty kind of texture, which can make the falafel a bit too dense, so I personally don't recommend it. Next, we're going to prep the rest of the ingredients. I've got my compost box for food scraps as always. Here, I've got a half onion, which is about 100 grams. It had some sprouts coming through, but they're perfectly safe to eat, so don't throw them out. I sliced the onions without cutting it all the way through the root part. Turn it 90 degrees and then dice it thinly. Flip it 90 degrees to the cut side when it's getting closer to the root part where it becomes harder to cut. Give it a few more chops and then we'll have a flat surface to continue slicing safely. Diced onions in the bowl. Don't forget about the onion shoots as well. Next, I crushed 2 cloves of garlic. Always crush it before you peel it, it's so much easier this way. Let the knife do the work and just dice it up. I got a pot of parsley out on the balcony that has been thriving all year round. They tend to start turning yellow after being established for a few months, so I try to harvest them before they dry out. Growing fresh herbs at home not only adds that greenery to your home, but also gives you access to fresh and free herbs. Roll the freshly harvested parsley up and finally chop it up. Once again, let the knife do its work. Into the bowl it goes. I happen to have some celery handy, and the leafy part is one of my favourite things to add as a substitute of herbs. They don't really have much cooking value, but can add so much flavour in recipes like this. Roll the leaves into a cigar shape and thinly slice it up. Next, we want to season our mixture. 150 grams of dried chickpeas became 300 grams after being cooked and soaking up all of the water. Here, we want about 2% salt to the chickpeas, which is 6 grams. And then, I added 2 grams of ground cumin for that incredible fragrant note. Once all is in, give our mixture a good mixing to combine everything together. The mixture can be quite crumbly and easily falling apart. So here, I added about 30 grams of flour as a binding agent, so our falafel dough can gel together slightly easier. Give it a good mix again. I find my mixture slightly on the drier side and not really coming together, so I added about 30 grams of water to hydrate it a bit. Much better. Next, put the lid on the mixing bowl and we want to put it in the fridge to let the flavour and moisture to redistribute for at least 1 hour. The resting time will help our falafel hold its shape better. After about an hour, before pulling the mixture out of the fridge, I turn the oven on 180 degrees Celsius on fan forced to have it ready when we are done rolling the falafel. Line up a baking tray with reusable baking paper. Optionally, you can spread some oil on it if you want it crispy. Get our falafel out of the fridge and we can get rolling. Have your hand slightly damped to avoid falafel from sticking. Grab a bowl of falafel roughly half the size of your palm and toss it in between your fingers to firm it up. You can turn it into a bowl if you're after that classic falafel you get from midnight kebab run. To make it easier to bake in the oven, I went for cylinder shape so I can easily flip them over while cooking. Rinse and repeat to finish making all of the falafel. Only thing left to do is to bake it. If you want it nice and crispy, you can spray on some oil all over the falafel. I baked it just as it is, and they turn out to be pretty good. Into the oven on middle shelf for about 15 minutes. At 15 minutes mark, take the falafel out and we want to flip them over. Bake in the oven for another 15. The baking is to give the falafel a nice and crusty exterior. Listen to this. Not too bad for an oven baked crust. To dish up, I put on 2 healthy spoons of homemade hummus. Spread it out nicely. Some smoked paprika to make the colour pop. On goes our falafel. Drizzle of olive oil. Flaky salt. Finish up with some tahini lemon dressing. The cost breakdown is as below. 150 grams of chickpea at $3 a kilo equals to 45 cents. 100 grams of onion at $1 a kilo equals to 10 cents. 2 cloves of garlic is about 5 cents. 2 grams of cumin, say 5 cents. 30 grams of flour at $1 a kilo equals to 3 cents. Parsley and celery leaves are pretty much free. So altogether, 12 falafels costed us 95 cents to make. Just think about the money you can be saving by making these. Alright, and there we have it. That is our falafel done. It's so easy to make. The ingredients is not complicated at all. And if you stick to the dried chickpeas and then really be working smart with your herbs, because sometimes herbs can be costly, right? If you just buy fresh bunched herbs that don't last for very long and you use it for one dish, that's kind of silly. So I utilize my garden space, not even a garden, I just have a balcony there. But essentially I utilize my homegrown herbs and also be using the celery leaves and stuff to give it that extra boost of flavour, and that works out to be super cheap. As weather is warming up over here in Brisbane, falafel, it's so light, it's so tasty, and it's perfect for like a hot day kind of lunch or even dinner. It can be so delicious. Make like a little pita bread or something, shuffle it in there, and that is your lunch done. I'm going to dig in and let you know how it tastes like. The richness from the olive oil and the hummus and our tahini dressing combined with lime, the acidity just cuts through everything. It's super delicious. Obviously this is an oven baked falafel. It's not going to be as crispy as your deep fried one, so if you do want to put in that extra effort just to get that crispy, crunchy exterior, it's nothing fancy. Do a deep fry or do a shallow pan fry and you can get that crunchy deliciousness. This is such a simple recipe to make. Even if you've never had falafel before, please, I really do encourage you to give it a try. It's really good for you and it's just such a cheap meal. Anyway, I'm going to get back to my lunch. Thank you so much for watching. If you have been enjoying the video, please make sure you give it a like and consider subscribing. I have a new video coming out on a weekly basis. Thank you so much and I will see you in the next one.